Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have my April Realmathon and Magical Readathon TBR. So in the month of April, I am participating in 2 month-long readathons. I will put the announcement video for both of them in my description box as they're both fairly complicated, so I won't be going through the specifics of them today. But the first one that I'm participating in is Realmathon, created by Covers with Cassidy. The premise of this one is that we have 4 adjacent realms that are all vying for control of the majority of the land's magic. Throughout the month, the books that you read will generate points that will either contribute to your own realm's magic supply or deplete the magic of other realms. I am a co-captain of one of the realms for this readathon. I am championing Bale along with Mel from Mel Lenore Reads. Each realm also has a subgenre, and the subgenre of our realm is of course a fantasy romance, and if you read books within that subgenre you will get bonus points. The second readathon I'm participating in is of course my favorite readathon ever, the Magical Readathon created by G over at Book Rose. This one is an RPG D&D magic school style readathon where you create a character. There's mini rounds that have like different tasks, but the 2 main rounds in April and August you are attending a magic school to gain the skills that you need to achieve your chosen career. So my character is an urban Iltyrian from Kerador, my conduit is a dagger, and I can also travel through the multiverse. So with this readathon you get a selection of callings that you can choose from, and each calling will tell you what classes you need to pass and at what level to be able to achieve this calling in the future. So there are going to be a lot of books on this TBR. I think we're talking like 13, 14 in total. Absolutely 100% know that I'm not getting to all of them, but the way that I formatted this TBR is that I'm going to be going through all of the classes on the syllabus that I need to pass to achieve my calling in the ideal order that I need to achieve them, and then for each book I'm going to tell you how many points that gains or detracts from another realm. For Realmathon I'm not going to be going through all of the possible prompts for each book for Realmathon because there are 40 in total, 20 decreasing and 20 increasing ones, and you can combine up to 5 from either of the categories to decrease or increase per book, and that is just, it's a lot. Now there are tiers to this TBR as well, because when I was going through the call-ins for the Magical Readathon I could not pick just one that I definitely wanted to go through. G put so much work into this readathon and it really shows. All of the stuff that goes into it and all of the thought is just unparalleled. It's amazing. So I wrote down my top 4 callings and all of the classes that I needed to achieve them, and I realized that they all have a different amount of classes. However, a lot of the classes are the same, so if I aim for a stretch goal of like my ultimate call-in but I don't quite hit it, I will still get one of my other 3 choices. So essentially the ultimate calling for Magical Readathon, the one that I'm truly aiming for, is Necromancer, which requires me to pass 8 classes to be able to qualify. However, if I don't quite hit all 8 of those, my second choice is Demonologist, which requires me to pass 6 classes, 5 of which overlap with Necromancer. And then if I don't quite hit that one, my third and fourth choices are Mage Hunter and Spellsword, both of which require me to pass 4 classes, and all of those classes overlap with Necromancer and Demonologist. So essentially what I'm saying is that we have choices, but I've put all of the classes into order of like how essential it is that I pass those classes, and that is how we're structuring this TBR. So before we get started with the syllabus and the TBR, I need to pick my Inner Circle Patreon pick for April. Every member of the Inner Circle tier of my Patreon can recommend a book for me to read that goes in this jar, and I pick one out every month. I'm doing this first because it could literally change everything depending on what book comes out of here. So let's go. Let's go with this one. Oh my god. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. That's Kings of the Wild and that one is Claire's pick. Okay, so my Inner Circle pick is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. This is a book that was gifted to me by Cody from Cody's Book Corner because she really likes this book and thinks that I'm gonna love it as well. So thank you very much, Cody, for gifting this to me. But this one is an adult fantasy about a band of mercenaries who back in the day were like heroes and legends. However, they're all old and retired now. But I think one of the members' daughters goes missing, so he tries to get the band back together again for one last hurrah. I've heard this is really funny. I really like the thing of older characters who used to be these big badass like heroes kind of resurface it again, so that's why Cody recommended this to me. This does not at this moment change my TBR, because at first glance the only thing that I can currently count it for is to read a book with a trope that you like, but that is on my extended TBR anyway. It's not one of the classes that I need to pass because it's Art of Illusion, but we'll see. This is on my TBR along with 13 other books. Getting into the syllabus, the first class that I need to pass is Animal Studies, and the prompt for this is to read a quick read. So for this one, I've gone for one that isn't short, but I've heard that it's like really addictive and really compelling, and that is Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, I think. I don't have a physical copy of this. I'm going to be reading it on Kindle Unlimited, but this one was my Patreon pick for March. I haven't quite gotten around to it. So this is an indie fantasy romance series. I think there's 7 books in the series so far, with the final one yet to be published, and we are following 2 Gemini twins who attend a school called the Zodiac Academy, where all of the houses are like separated into the signs of the zodiac. I think it's a fae romance, and that is all I know about it for sure. I'm a little tentative about this one. It wasn't a book that I was originally interested in, but the fact that it's a fae romance has got me a little bit hooked, and also Kelsey, otherwise known as KJ Sutton, is enjoying the series, and we do have similar tastes. And then in terms of Realmathon, I've gone with the prompts that I know these books will definitely fit, but some of the prompts are like a book that has a parent-child relationship, or has the mentor trope or apprentice trope, which the majority of these I don't know for sure until I've actually read them. So I've gone with the minimum amount of points that I will definitely get with every book on this TBR, and Zodiac Academy will get me a minimum of 19 points for bail. The next class that I definitely need to pass is Demonology, and the prompt for this one was to read a book with shadow in the title, and this one was really difficult because all of the books I own with shadow in the title are really long and not something that I ideally wanted to be reading right now, but I still haven't read Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. After I read Crown of Gilded Bones, it just completely put me off, and any drive I had to continue with anything to do with Blood and Ash just disappeared. I have heard good things about Shadow in the Ember though. I haven't been spoiled for War of Two Queens, but I've heard that a lot of people are really not happy with it. So I'm intrigued, and that has made me a little bit more interested in picking this one up again. But this one is a prequel to the Blood and Ash series. I honestly don't really know what it's about, aside from it has something to do with a couple of characters that were introduced in Crown of Gilded Bones. Like I said, I heard good things about it, so I'm more hyped about this than War of Two Queens right now. I will be making a spoiler vlog for this as well, because I've done all of the Blood and Ash series, so I'll be continuing, and I think I'm buddy reading this with Kelsey throughout April as well, because we've buddy read all of the Blood and Ash books together, and this one was also a gift from April, so thank you very much, April, for that. In terms of Realmathon, this one will once again gain me at least 19 points for bail. I'm going to stack the books over here so that you can see how truly ridiculous this TBR is. The next class that I need to pass is Restoration, and the prompt for that is to read a book that features healers, and I do have it on good authority from Aaron from Booked and Busy that Jade City by Fonda Lee does contain healers. I also have some content planned in April, which I'm not going to go into because this TBR is already complex enough, but throughout this you might guess what some of those themes are. But Jade City is an adult urban fantasy series that is set on an island where there is a substance called jade, which I think has something to do with enhancing magical abilities, and there are 2 families on this island that are vying for control of the jade. So excited to be starting this series. I think I'm gonna love it. I think it might become one of my new favorite series, which I'm trying not to let my excitement level get that high because I don't want to be disappointed because I put it on such a pedestal, but I truly am expecting only good things from this. And for Realmathon, this will allow me to detract at least 9 points from another realm. The next class that I definitely need to pass is Spells and Incantations, which I believe is a requirement for every call-in that I'm aiming for. And the prompt for this is to read a short story or an essay or a collection of short stories or essays. I really struggled with all of the small book prompts for Magical Readathon, but for this one I'm going with Sunreach by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first of the Skyward novellas. So it's a novella, not a short story, but I don't read short stories, so that is like truly the best I can do. And it's like 208 pages, so it's pretty short. I actually have no idea what the novellas are about. I just know that I need to read them before I pick up Psionics. And the Skyward series follows a young girl called Spencer who wants nothing more than to attend the flight academy on her planet. However, her father was branded as a deserter, so the people in power have forbidden her from joining the flight academy and will do everything in their power to stop her from succeeding. For Realmathon, this will gain me a minimum of 4 points for bail. The next class that I need to pass is Elemental Studies. I really struggled with this. The prompt for this one is to read a book under 100 pages. I do not own a single book under 100 pages. Y'all know I don't like short things. But the one that I've picked for this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chosen Ones. This one is a collection of short stories that go alongside the Buffy reboot comic, and according to the reading order, I need to read one short story out of this collection before I can pick up volume 3, so that is the only reason why I can actually fulfill the under 100 pages prompt. But the first story in here I think is called Chosen Ones issue 1, and it is around 40 pages. So this comic series is a modernized reboot of the 90s TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is my favorite TV show of all time, and it essentially just brings the story and the characters into a modern setting with modern fashion, technology, makes them more relatable to a newer audience, like a new generation of people who could be getting into Buffy. And I actually think that they've done a really good job with what I've read so far in capturing the voices of the characters but bringing it into a like 2020 setting. I have been reading these slowly as they do intersect with the Angel reboot as well, and obviously the thing that I'm reading in here is literally tiny, but it's progress in a series, I guess. This book was very kindly gifted to me by Hannah as well, so thank you very much, Hannah, for that, and this will gain me a minimum of 6 points for bail. The next class that I need to pass is Conjuration, and the prompt for that is to read a book with a light source on the cover. So I'm going to be reading Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham, which if you look right in the background over here, there is lightning, and this looks like a city, like the lights of a city in the background. Such a small part of the cover, but I'm taking it because I need to read this one. This one is the first book in the Kithamar trilogy. It's an adult fantasy trilogy, and I think that this tells the same story from 3 different perspectives, and it looks like it might tell them from different points in time as well. But the city of Kithamar is this bustling center of trade and wealth, and in Age of Ash we are following a thief who is searching for answers after her brother is murdered. And this one I'm hoping has some tropes in that are part of the Realmathon prompts, because at the moment the maximum damage I can do is -3 to a different realm. So if I manage to read this stack of books minus Kings of the Wild but plus the ebooks I've talked about, I will achieve everything I need for both the Mage Hunter and the Spell Sword paths. So the next class that I would like to pass is Law, and the theme for that is mythology inspired, and for that one I'm going to be reading Breath of Fire by Amanda Boucher, which is book 2 in the Kingmaker Chronicles. In this one we are following a young woman called Kat who has been hiding out as a soothsayer in a traveling circus, and one day she is kidnapped by Griffin, who is the general of one of the kingdoms in this world, and his family are like normal humans in a world where you usually need magic to be able to secure a kingdom. So he's looking for a powerful magic wielder to help his family secure the territory that they've taken over, and Kat also has some things in her past that she's been running from. For Realmathon, this will allow me to drain a minimum of 17 points from a different realm. Also has military elements, but I can't remember like how integral they are to the story. And also I think I've just remembered that it has dragons, which is a prompt, but I can't remember if it's on the increasing or depleting category. And the reason why this is mythology inspired is because it does contain some of the Greek gods. The one that I remember specifically is Poseidon. The next class that I would like to pass is Inscription, and the prompt for that is to read an intimidating book, and for that I've gone with Jade War by Fonda Lee. This intimidates me on multiple levels. It is quite a chunky one, and I have no idea how dense this series is, but the main thing that intimidates me about this series is just that I think I'm gonna love it so much, and I'm terrified of being disappointed. I do really want to read this series, but I also keep putting it off like I did with Red Rising, because I didn't want to be disappointed by a series that I think I'm going to adore. But yeah, it's happening. It's happening in April. And for Realmathon, this will give me a minimum of 10 points for bail. And then the final class that I need to pass for my calling of Necromancer is Shapeshifting, and the prompt for that is to read a book that has a creature with claws on the cover. So for that one, I'm reading Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, which has 2 wolves in the background here. I actually think, looking at the synopsis of this, it contains the mentor trope, which I know once again is one of the Realmathon prompts. And in this one, I think we are following the life of a traveling justice from the perspective of his like assistant or apprentice or something. And I also think that this has some sort of murder mystery in the plot as well, because it's following this justice as he investigates the murder of a provincial aristocrat. For Realmathon, I only have this at the minute as draining a minimum of -2 from another realm, but like I said, I do think it has that mentor apprentice trope. Oh no. So these are all of the books that I need to fulfill the classes required for my calling for Magical Readathon, which is already a lot. Like, honestly, I'm dreaming with this TBR. I don't think I'm gonna get all of these, but it's nice to have a stretch goal, you know, like necromancy is the ceiling, but I'm more likely to fall into something. It's probably gonna be demonologist, I feel, is the one that I'm gonna hit. But aside from all of those, there are other books that I'd already planned on reading in April, or I need to read in April, so I've gone ahead and picked a book for the rest of the classes for Magical Readathon, even though I don't need them for my call-in. Some of these I need to read anyway, but they don't fit into any of the prompts that I have to do. Some of them are on the Bookish TBR that I've just posted that stretches over April and May, so if I have time I'll get to them. But this is it's just an extension essentially. The next class is Alchemy, and the prompt for that is to read a romance, and for this one I'm going to be reading The Deal by Elle Kennedy, which is the first book in the Off-Campus series. I think that this series is all hockey romances, and The Deal has the fig dating trope. This one will either get me a minimum of 5 points for bail or allow me to detract a minimum of 5 points from another realm, depending on which way I decide to go. The next class is Art of Illusion, and the prompt for that is to read a book with a trope you like, and for that one I've picked You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This one is an adult contemporary romance following two best friends over 12 years on the vacations that they've taken together over those 12 years. And the reason I've selected this one for the prompt is that it has the friends to lovers trope, which is one of my favorites when it's done well. And for Realmathon, this will give me at least 9 points for bail. The next class is Astronomy, and the prompt for that is to read the book at the top of your TBR. So for that one, I'm going with Absinthe by Brendan P. Bellecourt. Not because I'm especially excited to read it, but because this will literally be the first book that I read in April, so it is literally at the top of my TBR. This one is an adult sci-fi. It's set in Chicago in 1928, and it surrounds a substance called absinthe, which does something to the people who drink it. There's also like robots. It's a bit steampunky as well, I think. Very much outside of my comfort zone with the type of sci-fi that this is, but this will definitely be the first book that I read in April, and it will gain me a minimum of 5 points for bail. I'm not gonna read all of these. It's not happening. The next class is Artificiary, and the prompt for that is to read a book set on Earth, and for that one I have The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This is another one that's on my April and May Bookish TBR, so I don't have to read it in April, but I can if I have time. And this one is an adult thriller about this seemingly perfect couple. However, the wife is unfaithful, so they decide to go to couples therapy, but the therapist that they choose has some slightly unorthodox practices and also has had her professional license revoked. And for Realmathon, this will give me a minimum of 7 points for bail. And then the final class is Psionics Divination. The prompt for this is to read a book set in the future. So for that one, I have Aurora's End by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, the final book in the Aurora cycle. This one is YA sci-fi following an unlikely flight crew called Squad 312, who were assembled from the bottom of the barrel from the graduating class of the flight academy. And when they go out on their first mission, they find a mysterious girl with superpowers who's stowed away in the cargo hold, and essentially their life just gets derailed from there. It's a space opera. It's kind of funny. The second book ended in a way that I'm like really intrigued to see how they're gonna get out of the situation that they were in. But once again, this is on my April and May Bookish TBR, so if I get to it, great. If I don't, no bother. And this will get me a minimum of 10 points for bail. Now this is not happening. I'm not even calculating the pages because I know it's not happening. I'm not gonna stress about it. We're just gonna see what happens, because it's just not, it's not happening. You know, like, we all know that it's not. But on the off chance that it does, I could finish off the trilogy and read Jade Legacy. I think I'm going to read that series in the last week of April that crosses over into May, so this will end up being May. But we can hope, we can dream. I also have the other two books that are left on my April and May Bookish TBR, which are dense classic fantasy and thick adult fantasy. So I doubt I'm getting to either of these, but they are also possibilities. They will all get me points for bail. These two on their own would get me points for just being chunky books. On top of all of this, I'm actually going to be away in April. I'm going on 3 trips that add up to 8 days total. So that is time that I'm not going to be reading. That's 8 days of the month that I'm probably not going to pick up a book. Actually, for 2 of the trips, I have quite long train journeys. I think I'll be on trains for 10 hours in total, which, to be fair, 10 hours could be like the audiobook of Jade War on 2 times speed. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. This is a stretch TBR, but I'm really excited about both of these readathons. I'm really excited about a lot of these books. So we could be making magic. I mean, we are making magic. That's the point of Realmathon, and also learning how to make magic in Magical Readathon. So hopefully that translates into my reading life. But as usual, let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. Please wish me luck. Also let me know if you're participating in Magical Readathon or Realmathon. If you haven't heard of either of those readathons, please go ahead and check them out. The lovely ladies that have put them together have put a lot of work into them. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna. If you head to my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. So that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.